Find your seat so we can continue with our program. And we are happy to see that there are so many different faces and new faces for many of us, I think, today. So it's very nice and a good mingling opportunity to talk to new people. And I hope you have time to speak to people like in the morning and during lunch and during the breaks. So now we will move on to our first afternoon block, and then we will have more of an outlook outside of the project, even more than we had in the morning. And we will look into green shipping corridor initiatives in various Nordic countries. We're still in the Nordic countries, though. And first, I would like to welcome up Katarina Fant from Vasa Line, and you will present what you're working on there. And you can introduce yourself more if you like. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for giving the challenge to have the first presentation here after lunch, so please don't fall asleep. Okay. Vasa Line. Yeah, and my name is Katarina Fant. I work as a director for communications and brand and sustainability at Vasa Line. So a few words about what Vasa Line is all about. Vasa Line is having traffic between Vasa in Finland and Umeå in Sweden. We are owned by the two cities, the city of Vasa and the city of Umeå. So that's something special that we don't think exists anywhere else, that we are owned by two cities in different countries. It is the northernmost route in the world that has traffic all year round. And it's also the shortest sea route between Finland and Sweden. And important for the security of supply. I will tell you a little bit more about that later on. We just have one vessel, Aurora Botnia. We claim that it's the most environmentally friendly passenger vessel in its size in the world. 935 passengers and 1,500 lane meters. It is the first vessel that's built specifically for this route. There has been traffic between Vasa and Umeå since the 1940s, but this is the first one that was built specifically for this route. The maiden voyage was in 2021, and it was built in Finland at Rauma Marine Constructions, RMC. It's 80% Finnish made, so we also have the key flag that it is, so to say, made in Finland. A few words about the technology. There are dual fuel engines, Wärtsilä 430, Wärtsilä 31 engines, dual fuel ones, and we also have batteries, so it's a hybrid vessel. It is the first RoPax vessel that was built with DNV clean design notion. So already when it was built, we wanted to be more environmental friendly than we'd had to, so to say. We have electric propulsion, azipod thrusters, thruster units, and one thing that's very interesting is that we are kind of a floating laboratory for Wärtsilä. The port of Vasa is just a few hundred meters away from Wärtsilä's technology hub. And together with them, we have one of the engines that we are testing, or they are testing with different things all the time. So it's kind of a floating lab for them. In fact, we can offer already today emission-free transports on this route. Because of the batteries, of course, so 4 to 5% of the total energy consumption is made out of green energy. We allocate approximately 50 units each month for this, so to say, green corridor. And for now we have one customer that buys this service, and they can then claim that they transport their goods completely neutral, CO2 neutral. There's also this possibility to create green corridors from all the way from Vasa down here to Gothenburg. There was somebody talking today about these other routes and trucks and trains and so on. And in fact, we work very closely also with the train connections. So whenever we have this completely neutral way of transporting between Vasa and Umeå, we can also take or transport by train then all the way here down to Gothenburg or Trelleborg, or even then further on down to Europe. Completely emission free or emission neutral, as we say. So then also about a little bit about the how important this is for the national security of supply. Today, when both Finland and Sweden are part of NATO, this route is very important also for the security of supply, as it's easy to come from Umeå over to Mo i Rana or Trondheim to these deep sea harbors. If something, for example, would happen down here or something, as we have seen now with our nice big neighbor here. So this is a very important route for that too. Then in short about what we have been testing a little bit, we have been testing having Green Corridor Fridays. We tested from October, mid-October until Christmas to have Fridays when we're operating with certified biogas 1 day a week. And we covered the extra costs for this, and we wanted to test a little bit what the cargo customers would say about this. Would they be ready to pay for this and so on? And these Fridays were then consequently climate neutral when we were running on biogas. We saw a little bit of interest in this and a little bit more cargo during these weeks, but when we then come to the fact that the customers would pay for being more green, there's not much interest in that in the end. They all say that it's good and they are interested, but when it comes to really paying for it, not interesting. So for now we have just one customer that really wants to pay for having this neutral transportation. Of course, to be sustainable for a shipping company, it's important to what fuels you use and so on, what kind of engines you have. So for us, the hybrid vessel, we are happy to have this hybrid vessel that can use different kind of fuels. We also use shore power in both ports, but we also have other things, like we have mentioned here, intelligent ventilation. We have smart harbors, so we have automatic registration of cars, and now we have also introduced automatic registration for trucks. So they just drive in, and everything. If they have booked their cargo correctly, they just more or less drive in. We use environmental friendly materials on the ship, and of course we sort waste, and nothing is dumped into the sea. This is normal in the northern countries, but you know, when you go down to Europe or to southern Europe, everything is dumped into the sea. So this is something we still have to tell people, right? That in the Nordics, that's the normal way to do it. We use local food and so on and so on. So this sustainability, we have to remember that it's not only about the fuels in the end. Of course, we have a plan then, what we're going to do. And for 2030, we want to have zero emissions. And for now, we are investigating in future fuels. So this is what it looked like when we started. Vasaline started 10 years ago. We had an old vessel, Vasa Express, and here you can see the blue line, and we managed to get better numbers in CO2s there also, and invested in the vessel even though it was old. Then Aurora Botnia came in 21, and you saw a big dip there, and then we tested biogas, and now we are more or less here now, but now we are looking into alternative fuels, and then our aim is to be completely emission neutral by 2030. We made a letter of intent with Liquid Wind a few weeks ago, where we say that we want to investigate the possibilities and challenges in decarbonizing our route as a part of the Green Corridor. Liquid Wind will build a factory in Umeå, and the plan would then be to use e-methanol from that factory. But there are, of course, challenges in all of this if it will be working out. I have listed a few here because if it wouldn't cost us more to operate then in the future with these new fuels, of course it would be really good to start working on that. But there are some obstacles. First of all, nobody knows the prices of these new fuels. There are, of course, political changes all the time. We don't know what it will look like in the future. When we are trying to get some support from somewhere, there are some challenges there too. For example, if you want to get some support from EU Innovation Fund, it has to be an innovation, and it's just a small part of it. It's for the investment. Most of it's for the consultants. And then what else is important here? Vasa, for example, is not a TNT harbor. So, for example, getting support from different Finnish organizations, that's an obstacle, and so on. So there are a lot of challenges on if this will happen or not, and the main thing is there, of course, that the gap between carbon neutral fuel and fossil fuel is way too far from each other, and if we want to do this, the main thing is also that we have to get support both for the operations and for the capex and opex, both. The investment part is one thing, but then also for using the new different kind of the operating will cost also much more than today. So there are a lot of challenges here. So the question is, we say that is it the hen or the egg or the hen first? So will we get some support, or will we just invest first and hope for the support? So thank you.
Thank you very much. You can actually stay if we have a question for Katarina, maybe. Is anyone would like to pose a question? We have one over here, so we will see. Yeah, sorry. You can take this one.
Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. And I think the approach you said, that you actually had the Screen Friday, Friday where you were emission free, and you saw that you have more transport there, was really interesting. But when you say the customer, or when you ask the customer that they should pay for it, then they were not so interested anymore.
They are very interested all the time, even though, but
But did you?
but they don't want to pay.
Yeah, but did you actually come with a price, a direct price for them that you said you have to pay 20% more, or was it just in general that they say, okay, no, if
We
you have to
have-
pay more, then
We have a price, for example, for this battery solution. So we have a price for it, yes.
but that's
And
then
we
the
now
deal
have
breaker.
we now have one customer who is paying for it and who then can market their cargo as completely CO2 neutral cargo.
Okay.
But only one customer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have one more question? We have one in the back, in the middle, in the back there.
Thank you. My name is Johnny from Chalmers University of Technology here locally. I work with winter navigation. My question is that I'm curious about for your vessel, for your ferry. I mean, with your new fuel and with your new maybe the better power. So you said scenarios that you need still need icebreaker assistance, or you can just navigate independently in winter.
Yeah, this winter has been very, very challenging. We have had a lot of ice there in the archipelago, and it's ice class 1A super, so we can mainly traffic by ourselves, and we help also kind of to have the route ice-free or the channel ice-free. But we had a few times now when we had, say, 5 times maybe, this winter that we have really needed help from icebreakers, and we have used all 4 engines. Usually it's like 1.5 engines during winter time, maybe 2 engines at a time. But now we have had a few times that we had to use all 4 engines and help of icebreakers. It's not really about how thick the ice is, it's about the winds. When the winds are in a way that the ice gets packed and grows really high, then that's a challenge, especially in the harbors, especially in Umeå harbor. That's a challenge. So otherwise, even though it's like 50 centimeters or 70 centimeters of ice, as we drive that channel every day 3 to 4 times, it keeps open. But then the winds makes it really a challenge.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And by that, a new applause for you. And we move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. So then we will move into our next initiatives. We will stay with the Finnish perspective and look into Turku, Stockholm mainly. Philip Frandt and Magnus Gustafsson from PBI Research Institute, welcome.
Thank you.
This is for you.
Is this working? Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So, my name is Philip Frank. I represent a consulting company called PBI with my colleague Magnus Gustafsson here. We are going to talk a bit about, well, we'll talk a bit about 2 projects that we have been working on and are working on right now. And then also give our sort of thoughts on and learnings from these projects that we've been doing. I think Øyvind mentioned very quickly in one of his sentences that business models need to be looked at. And that's something that we have focused on, especially Airil also very quickly said the word cargo owner. And so we have also looked very much into sort of how you can create a business case from green corridors, more so maybe than looking at fuel uptake and technology and stuff like this. We haven't really seen that to be the major issue, and we're going to explain why. So, from a Finnish perspective, Turku, Stockholm, we're just finalizing a consortium project. So here is also maybe an example of how we've created a project tying in all the different stakeholders that we see were important in order to enable this kind of chicken-egg problem to be solved. So we created a consortium that was partly financed by Business Finland. And also maybe worth mentioning that Viking Line being the ship owner and Rauma Marine Constructions being the consortium leader in this project are both present here today. So we have Donnie sitting over there. Yep. Okay, like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we have Viking Line represented here, Donnie, and then also Teemu and Timo from RMC sitting over there. So if you have any more detailed questions about these projects that we're talking about, then feel free to ask them after this, I think. But yeah, so in this project, which we call Decatrip, which we're just about to finalize, we looked at the Turku-Stockholm corridor, where Viking Line has 2 ships operating currently, both LNG-fired ships. And we, of course, then looked at what kind of renewable methane solutions there could be for decarbonizing that route, first of all. And then, like I said, most importantly, looking really at how they can capitalize on actually providing the green corridor service to their customers. All in all, long story short, Viking Line launched the products both for passenger and cargo at the end of last year and are now promoting that as we speak. So I think if we talk about is this a green corridor or not, from our perspective, yes, it is, because there is a product available that you can buy, and now it's just up for the customers to buy it, which is of course the next sort of problem that we then have also been looking at, how you can actually make the customers understand the value of what they're getting and getting a receipt for it. The other project that we're currently working on is concerning the Helsinki-Tallinn corridor. Here also kind of the similar approach, also with Rauma Marine Constructions, a shipbuilding partner, and Viking Line a ship owner. Viking Line has a diesel ship, roughly 15 years old, operating on the route. And what we're investigating is the possibility for decarbonizing that through fully electrifying the ship. So completely 100% battery operated. Here we also have a bit more, let's say, collaboration together with, well, a familiar logo, as you can see here. And also the port side is involved, as this requires a lot of thought about infrastructure in the port, both on Helsinki and Tallinn side. Yeah, but I think this is what I had to say at this stage. I'll give the word over to Magnus, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna, is this sound okay? Yeah, so I'm going to talk about how to reduce emissions in shipping. I mean, we all know this about that emissions must come down, and we all know that renewable fuels are extremely expensive. I mean, it's been said quite many times already, and in some cases it can lead to freight cost increase of even 100%. 50% or 30% is quite normal, I believe, here. And of course, I mean, there are different measures coming in here, ETS and so on, but that only helps so much. So it really comes down to the business case. And that's where we come to the fact that if you want a green corridor, there are 4 things you need. You need, of course, the ship that can use the fuel, as have many presentations here already, and Vasa Line, they have one already, Viking Line already have that. So you need that. Then you need the renewable fuels. Some are available, like LBG, that's basically the only one really available now, and others are upcoming here. And then you need the cargo owners that can get competitive advantage from green transport. These are really important. There must be someone who sees that it's in their business interest there. And then you need the business processes. You need the digital tools and the business processes for actually buying and selling green transport. Now, if we look at it, the technology exists, and actually, even though there's a lot of focus on cost, then when you actually look at it, I mean, freight especially is a business. Nobody ships things for fun. The only product in the world that is shipped for the sake of shipping is linea aquavit. Everything else is just sort of in order to get from point A to B. And when you look at how at the end of the day, the additional cost for using green fuels for the individual product is quite small. We looked at this one case. Risifrutti, it's a snack being manufactured in Sweden. They cost, in the store, they cost about €1 in Finland. So they are shipped almost daily there. So even if you use LBG, which is 100 or even over 100% more expensive, and look at how much more expensive will this product become. So you see, 0.3 cents. 0.3 cents. So to make it from a Swedish perspective, it's like 2 öre. How many here have looked at, when you've been looking at green shipping cases, how many have looked at how much more expensive the cargo at the end of the day becomes? Anyone looked at it? You have? Ah, good. Because this is where you're paying for the fuel. Everything before that is just cost. Now, fortunately, this has been studied. There is New York University, they've been studying for years now actual sales figures of US consumer goods. They have a sample that represents about 40% of the US consumer good market. So that's a big sample. These are actual sales figures. And what they see is that products that are branded sustainable, they fetch on average a 27% premium. And this is a market that grows 3 times as fast as the conventional products. Actually, if you take it from 2013, the sustainably branded goods represent 50% of total market growth, even though it's only a 20% market segment. So there is demand for sustainable goods. And investors, Bank of Canada, they looked at companies that can show that they do not have a climate risk in their supply chain. They get better financing terms. And of course, the EU is tightening regulations. Now, everybody knows about ETS and everybody knows about FuelEU Maritime. But then there is CSRD, which will force companies to report their entire footprint, the GHG emissions. There are others in addition to CSRD. There is the Green Claims Directive, which is forcing companies to put facts behind their sustainability claims. And for example, in February, Zalando was punished quite hard for the fact that they couldn't prove their environmental claims. They were just claiming all this greenness. So from now on, Zalando if they are going to make green claims, they have to put up the facts. And of course, now, fortunately, there is Countermissions EU and the new ISO standard, which are now providing guidance on how to report emissions in transport. And this is important now because I would claim that sustainable transport, green transport, it's not a cost issue. It's a business issue. First of all, you shouldn't be comparing conventional transport to green transport. You should be looking at what is the premium for reducing emissions, because green transport, it's a premium product. It's a luxury product. You're paying for the privilege of saying that our products have been transported in a clean you're paying you want to emphasize, you want to get competitive advantage. I would even say that from companies that don't see that can't get competitive advantage from green transport shouldn't be buying it in the first place. And this is a key element here. You should also really start looking that we actually believe, we're not going to go into it here, but we believe that FuelEU Maritime in combination with green maritime corridors could be a business opportunity. And that's where we get to the fact that we need to create the right business process here. And because one of the problems here is now we've been talking, many presentations here talk about the shipping company as being somehow the end customer. That's not the end customer. The end customer is the cargo owner's customer or the consumer. And one of the key problems in green transport is that in order to be able to buy green transport, you must get a receipt. You must get a receipt for accounting purposes, first of all. You must be able to, you have to have a proof for stakeholder communications, and you have to have a receipt so that you can show that I paid more for transport and I got something for it. I mean, otherwise, I mean, imagine showing up to the accounting department, great, I just made a 3-year contract for transport that's going to be 20% more expensive. And they're going to ask you why. You have to show a receipt. And that receipt must be in such a form that it can go all the way. It's not enough from the shipping company to the freight operator. And actually, I would say that we've been hearing from many shipping companies that one of the big problems really is that between the shipping company and the cargo owner, because cargo owners are actually extremely interested in this, but the freight operators aren't. And they are sort of blocking the communication. So this information has to go all the way to the cargo owner and to the cargo owner's customer, and so on, so that you can show it to the end customer. And this way, so that you can then communicate reliably with the financiers, for example, you can show that, hey, we do not have a climate risk here, and that you can do it cost effectively. Because if you look at it, this is a scope 3 emission, and all industries are really looking into what their scope 3 emissions are. And it turns out that getting this data is really difficult. Now, I'm going to show you, we did a pilot. Pilots are great today. We did a pilot together with our partner Ioxio, it's a small ICT house, with SSAB and Orkla, where we tested how you could report the actual product-specific emissions, multimodal, so that the cargo owners' customers could get a receipt showing that these were the emissions. And it was done in such a way that you could that when the shipment left the factory, we started recording step by step what were the emissions, and it ended up like this. So that this is one example. These actually work. So you can scan these. You'll get this presentation afterwards, and I'll show you here. You get a report showing what were the emissions for transporting a steel roll from Finland to Sweden. These are now dummy figures because I'm not going to show you what SSAB's emissions actually are. But what the emissions were, you can see here, if they're in conventional transport, it would be 429 grams CO2 equivalent from end to end. If you scroll this, you'll be able to scroll down and see also the sea leg here, compared to 0.118 grams if you were using biofuels. This is a receipt. In addition, of course, to the freight cost, but of course the cost, they already know the freight cost. But they can now start showing that, okay, this is the conventional transport, it costs this much and has these emissions, and here we have the green transport, it costs this much, has these emissions. You can start comparing them, you can start budgeting. Now, here's the same for Orkla French fries. We're not going to go into that, you can look at it later on. But the key thing is here that the benefit, if you have this, you get data. Your customer, from a shipping company point of view, your customer gets data, seeing what the emissions are. And from a shipping company point of view, you can show your customer that you are not the climate risk in their supply chain. This is an important point here, that in a sense, because they are looking, they want to really find that. And it also provides, this is the basis for actually making the investments, because then you can start showing that you can capitalize on this. So what you need here to create a green corridor is first of all, you need to gather those customers who know that they can get competitive advantage from low emissions. So I would say that, for example, all those freight companies that aren't ready to pay, there's no point talking to them. You should talk to the ones, find the ones who are ready to pay, who are interested, who can get competitive advantage. Then you have to have the right business model, the right sourcing and pricing model. And this is really important because, first of all, sourcing green freight is different from just sourcing conventional freight. Conventional freight, you have like 2 freight providers, and then you ask them who's going to give the lower price. Suddenly you have sourcing green freight, you have seeing that, okay, I can get freight with these emissions at this price and these emissions at that price and so on. It's a completely new element that has to be taken into account in the sourcing process. Another thing is the sort of the reporting process, because a typical problem is that when you start talking to cargo owners that do you want to buy green transport, who do you talk to? You talk to the sourcing department. But the sourcing department, their job is to get prices down. Their job is not to identify what the business opportunity is. That's the sales and marketing department. So you have to basically bypass the sourcing department and really engage the sales and marketing department and see that, okay, that this is valuable. And then when they agree on it, then you bring in the sourcing department and then they will start doing their job, which is pushing the price down. So this is, once again, you have to understand this. And once you then have it, then you have to have reliable reporting, because for every shipment, you must be able to show a receipt in such a way that the cargo owner can take it, they can put it into their SAP systems or whatever, ERP system, and that they can show use it in their capital market days, and they can show it and provide it to their customer. I mean, for example, SSAB, they want to prove to their customers, which are it's Volvo and it's Scania and so on, that there are low emissions in transport, so that they in turn can prove to their customers that there are low emissions in transport. That's when you can cover the costs. Philip.
Yeah, thank you. I think we went a bit over time, but just so you know what we can do and what we can help with as a consultant. So we basically outlined it into 3 parts when it comes to Green Corridor services. So we can help you in quantifying the value proposition. So basically helping you to understand how you can kind of package and sell a Green Corridor or a decarbonized transport product. Then secondly, which links to that, is we also work a lot with value-based sales. So we work with companies and developing their sales processes in order to be more value-based and how to do that. And then finally, relating to the last thing Magnus was talking about, so digital product passport services is something that we're working on a lot. And we can also help you to build up the sort of the exchange of information that is needed in order for you to take DPPs into use, which is something that maybe some of you have heard of that is coming in the EU within the next couple of years. So this is going to be a very hot topic, I think, for many. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us or come and speak to us after this when we have the mingling session, and we'll be more than happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And since we are a bit ahead over time, you can take the questions to Philip and Magnus in the break, and also, as you say, via email or phone and so afterwards. So thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I think it was suited very well with the morning sessions. But we will continue moving on to our next speaker, who is from Maersk Mckinney Møller Center, and will talk about some green shipping corridor initiatives from your perspective. So Oliver Yashitu Imasimu, I probably pronounced that very wrong, so please start by correcting me there. But you're most welcome to join and give your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for having such a good, precious opportunity. All right, thank you. Yes. My name is Oliver Imaizumi, and I'm working at the Maersk Mckinney Møller Center, and I'm responsible for Green Corridor Shipping as a project manager, and I'm responsible especially Korea, United States, and Gothenburg. Let me introduce about Maersk Mckinney Møller Center briefly. We have established in 2020 as a NPO, non-profit organization, and also independent company, and also financially supported by Maersk Foundation. Then the feature of this organization is we have worked with more than 100 organizations, included some of the largest energy company and also technology companies. And here is the 24 strategic partners. And the 24 strategic partners need to send a secondee to the center, a minimum 3 people. So I'm one of them from Sumitomo Corporation. And then this is the knowledge partner, 16 companies, and 54 mission ambassadors. So total, almost 100, around 100 organizations is involved in activities in this mask making in Moore Center. And then as you can see, the mask, AP Molar Mask is one of the member of the strategic partner. So we are more than a think tank in close collaboration with our partners. So we mature the solution, technical, regulatory, and commercial, that can accelerate the decarbonization journey. Okay, move on to the next. Is the green corridor. Yes, the green corridor is our definition is the shipping routes on which commercially operating ship use only alternate fuels, and we have 3 type of the green corridor. The one is the corresponds to the vessel that within a single port, such like a tugboat, and the second one is the shuttling between specific ports of 2 ports, such like ferries or bulk carriers. The third one is the refers to ships that operate across the multiple ports, such as container or car carriers. So all of these are within our scope of Green Corridor feasibility study. This is the just highlight of the Green Corridor project in the world, publicly announcement one. Then this is the center's Green Corridor project. We are now currently handling more than 10 Green Corridor projects, feasibility study, and also pre-feasibility study. And the most advanced Green Corridor feasibility study is Chile. The reason of that advanced is we have a very strong interest and support from the cargo owner. Cargo owner is Codelco. Codelco is the Codelco is the copper concentrate mining company, and they are exporting the copper concentrate to the Japan and South Korea. And that Codelco is a state-owned company, and that company is strong motivation to achieve the zero carbon for their freight. So that's why they are willing to pay green premiums. Then this feasibility study consists by the Codelco as a cargo owner, and the shipping company is the NYK, and the fuel producer is Sumitomo, and the port is the Mejiones, and the Mejiones port, and also collaborate with the local storage companies. So that study is the most advanced one in our Green Corridor feasibility study. Then this one. Sorry. So our main philosophy of the Green Corridor is this one, for the offer opportunity to identify and prepare decarbonization solutions for scaling, and also help closing to the cost gap with fossil fuel, eventually reducing the cost of the bunker fuels. Have the power to unite the fast movers and accelerate the green transition in a country or region. So support leaders to deliver on the climate targets. This is our main philosophy of the Green Corridor feasibility study. Then our methodology, our concept is, sorry, like this. So from the beginning part is a pre-feasibility study. We are going to identify what type of the fuel will be suitable, what type of the vessel will be suitable, what type of the cargo will be suitable for transit to the green alternate fuels. This is to identify such kind of the items under the pre-feasibility study phase. Then move on to the feasibility study. Feasibility study is consisted by the stakeholders, which are mainly consisted by these private companies. But as pre-feasibility study is handled by government agencies, including port authorities, and also like an institution of the studies. Then the involvement of the Mask McKinney Center is getting less and less towards to the commercial development. So we are facilitating the pre-feasibility study and the feasibility study, but most likely we are fade out from this phase to this phase, because this phase is required to the final investment decision is involved. So more on the commercial side. That's why our NPO, as an NPO, we are not touching such kind of the commercial, transactions. That's why we are going to fade out at that stage. So this is the one of the example which we can show you. Yes, as I mentioned, I have handled the Korean Green Corridor, Korean United States Green Corridor pre-feasibility study last year, which was launched April 2023. And then, together with the all government agencies, members of the United States and the Korea side. And then we have studied separately under the few different segments. The one is the fuel production, availability, and this one is a port and bunkering. And this one is the port and bunkering is mainly we study about the port readiness level, and the cargo service trade route and vessels, and regulatory landscape. Then, after the study, the center selected some options of the green corridors. Then, in November last year, we had a workshop and gathering some all relevant stakeholders, like shipping companies, cargo owners, and energy fuel suppliers. Then we asked them to vote most suitable green corridors. Then this is the result of the voting. Then we chose 2 green corridors at the workshop. The one is container using methanol, Busan, Seattle, Tacoma. The other one is the car carrier. This is the Ulsan using green methanol or ammonia, Masan, Ulsan to Tacoma, between Masan, Ulsan, and Tacoma. And those 2 were selected during the workshop, through the workshop. Then, at this moment, we are moving to the feasibility study phase together with these private companies, who has motivation or interest to handle or conduct the feasibility study, because they have some commercial motivation and interest. Especially for this case, Wallenius Wilhelmsen has already announced, as you maybe know, they have ordered methanol fuel vessels. So they are very keen to use the green methanol. However, very difficult to find the source of the green methanol and bunkering of the methanol. That's why they would like to utilize this green corridor feasibility study. They try to find out the solutions. Yes. Yeah, this is the one of the tool and the concept of the cost gap. So this one is a fossil fuel, fuel and also the infrastructures and the vessel cost. This under the conventional fuel, and then of course we will see the incremental cost for when we transit to the green shipping, green alternate fuels. So this is the cost gap. Then, as you can see, this is the same as the last pages, and then this one is using for the current existing data. Then we can calculate, based on the existing data. Then we move on to the feasibility phase. Then we tune up the cost. Then we try to identify the cost gap, incremental cost. Then could be reduced by the a carbon tax. It could be reduced by the green premium from the end users or consumers. Then we try to identify the residual cost, this part. Then using to identify this residual cost gap, we are trying to negotiate or get support from the subsidies from the government or government or EU or such kind of institutions. So this is the method of our Green Corridor feasibility study. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I think we will say questions for you also to the break, but you're here, so
Okay.
please feel free to pose questions, Oliver, later on. So thank you very much,
Thank you
and we
very
will move on to our next contribution. A very interesting presentation also, I think. We get a lot of knowledge and insights from all of them. And the next presentation is going to be given by Erland Hovland, who represents Norlid, and will actually talk about the MF Hydra project. But he couldn't be here today, so we have pre-recorded him, and hopefully it will work that you can listen to him in a pre-recorded presentation. So keep your finger crossed that it will work. Okay, then go ahead, please, Erland.
Yeah, sustainable innovation. In Norled, we have the past decade been quite active in the sustainable innovation front. We put the world's first battery electric ferry into operation in 2015, and then last year we put the world's first hydrogen-powered ship into operation, and this year we will put the world's first autonomous battery replacement system into operation. It's hydrogen we're focusing on today, and the MF Hydra is actually the world's first movable object outside of the space industry that uses liquefied hydrogen as a fuel. It's the world's first drive line that uses liquefied hydrogen, and it has a design life of more than 25 years. In the space industry, we're talking about minutes of design life, so that's a huge difference between the maritime space and the space. The world's first commercial passenger ferry with a passenger certificate for commercial operation that uses hydrogen as a fuel. That is MF Hydra. The vessel entered into route about a year ago, and the regularity has been great. Everything has been working as planned and as engineered. It's a robust system that has proven that the concept is definitely spot on with regards to scale up. And it is designed with scale up in mind. The same plant, the same philosophies that we have used in the design of MF Hydra can be used on significantly larger vessels or smaller vessels. We were the first, and there is not a lot of competition yet. I think it would be another 2 years before we have a similar ship in operation. But I hope that we see now a growth in this market, and we see more concepts like this coming on stream. The MF Hydra, it's an 80-car capacity vessel. The length is 82 meters and it's about 70 meter wide. We can take 80 cars, 10 trucks and 299 passengers, and it's operating about an hour's ride from Stavanger in the Hjelmeland Nesvik Skipavik route for the Norwegian Road Administration. The technology that we have developed on Hydra that enables transition to zero emissions on a lot of different ship concepts along the coastline. It's not the best concept for intercontinental shipping, but it's a very well suited concept for nearshore and on continental shipping. All the longer ferry routes can be converted to zero emissions based on this technology. The offshore vessels operating for the oil and gas industry, cruise ships and short sea shipping, and also fisheries and fish farming. There's a large potential for this concept to be utilized. We have worked closely with both the flag state and the class here to develop a set of regulations that others can take advantage of. And actually, DNV are launching their set of rules later this year. So the rules now are in place, and the rules are based on the experience developing this concept. The next project will be have a much shorter development period and less risk on the legislative side, both towards class and hopefully towards flag. At least if you're using the Norwegian flag like we did, the concept is very well known, and I believe that the next project would be relatively easy to get through with the relevant authorities. In 2015, as I mentioned, we launched the world's first electric ferry, and we've seen an enormous scale of the electrification of the ferry industry in Norway, and also we're starting to see that worldwide. Last year in 23, we passed 100 electrical ferries in Norway, and in total we have cut emissions from the ferry fleet in Norway by more than 50% up until this date. Last year we put the world's first hydrogen ship into operation, and I hope to see a similar scale up the next 5-6 years, and that hopefully we can gather again in 5-6 years and say that we have 80 hydrogen vessels operating in the Nordic countries. Why liquid hydrogen? We use green hydrogen on this project. It's a zero emissions fuel. It's stored at a very low temperature, minus 253 degrees. So it's a very cold liquid, but that can be handled, and we've proven that it can be handled. It's stored at low pressure, and we have relatively high energy density, which enables scaling to larger facilities. And the liquid hydrogen enables a very high bunkering rate, so we can fill and bunker the vessel rather swiftly compared to the alternatives. And it's easy to transport than a lot of the other hydrogen products. And in my opinion, if you look at the safety concept, it's a very good choice compared to a lot of the other options. And Norway and the Nordic countries are well positioned, I believe, for scale up of large scale hydrogen production. Why do we switch from battery electric to liquid hydrogen? It's about energy density, basically. Batteries have limited energy density. They must be charged relatively often, or else you would need to take a lot of batteries with you, and that will, of course, not be good for payload and cost. So on the longer demanding routes, that's where we see the usage of hydrogen becoming attractive. Hydra can run 4 hours on the batteries, but we can run 13 days on the hydrogen. So if we were to sail on a straight line with a full tank, we can actually cover 1,000 nautical miles with Hydra on hydrogen. It has been a relatively complex puzzle to put this project together. So the execution phase, since it was a pilot, was of course challenging because there was no supply chain, there was no rules. So we've had to take a lot of responsibility on connecting all the dots and bringing this together to a complete project. That has been a demanding task for an operator. But as I mentioned previously, the vendors are now familiar with this product and the legislation is in place. So the runner-up will have a much easier process to get through to the final product. This project would not have been possible anywhere outside of the Nordic countries. Since I'm Norwegian, I say Norway. With the implementation time we've had, we've seen other projects around the world that were starting at the same time as us, but they haven't been successful in completing. And it's this cooperation between us as an owner and our client, which is the Norwegian Road Administration, the flag state, the onshore authorities, classification, designers, shipyards, equipment suppliers, and also the financial institutions and the insurance companies, what we call the maritime cluster. That has been decisive. It's very hard to do this kind of groundbreaking projects if you don't have a complete cluster to lean on. And it's natural that it's the maritime industry that takes the lead. We have in IMO an opening for what we call the alternative design approach, where one can demonstrate an equivalent level of safety to conventional solution in the absence of established regulations. And that enables the authorities to approve novel concepts. If you prove that you have a solution that's safer or equally safe to the conventional technology. Yeah, this is from the first day of operation last year, and as I mentioned, it has been flawless operation since that day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Erland, for that very interesting presentation. You indicated it was a puzzle with lots of different things that you needed to solve. Was there anything you found more challenging or less challenging? I mean, more challenging. We heard rumors that you had initial problems with bunkering, for example. So are there some things you would highlight that has been a larger challenge, even though you seem to have solved most of it?
Yeah, everything on board the vessel has been working flawlessly. The bunkering operation has had some challenges. We had two bunkering solutions, so we switched to what we call the commissioning solution, which was a simplified alternative for bunkering. So when we switched back to that, it's been working flawlessly, the bunkering as well, and we are now in the process of modifying what we call the permanent bunkering arm that allows a higher transfer rate, basically. And that will be commissioned shortly, and then we can bunker at a much higher rate. The rate we're bunkering at now is also high, but to demonstrate that you can actually bunker up to more than 50 kilos a minute, that is what we're aiming for, and that's just to prove that we can bunker at a really high speed. I believe now we're at 25 kilos a minute, so it's still quite high.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And if you would like to give an advice to other sort of ship owners or companies who are sort of starting to get or wanting to get the project going, do you have a specific advice on what they should think of when they go into a new fuel like hydrogen?
Well, when you're going into novel concepts, don't underestimate the requirement for having a robust project organization. That's something you need to have in place. You need to have an engineering capacity in-house. You need to start discussing early with the different vendors and the equipment suppliers. You need to have a strong idea of what yard you should build this on, because you need competent partners. Start discussing with Class early, bring them on board early. and also start having discussions with the flag state early. That is my best advice. Flag and class are instrumental in the process, even though the rules are known now and you can follow a more or less a cookbook recipe. It's early involvement of flag state and class is still important.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Excellent. That's worked nice, right? Also added some questions so it would be like he was here. Interesting presentation as well. Now we will have a short coffee break and we will be back at 2:25 for our last short section before we have some fika in the end. So please have some air outside. Okay, then it's time to take your seats again for the last part of this day. Okay, welcome back everyone. Please find your seats. We have 2 more presentations and then a short sort of summing up. And our last block is partly a mixed one, but also a very linked one. We have discussed, at least early in the morning, very much, and also in the afternoon, about funding possibilities and how to get this going. And also we talked about the customers and transport buyers. And now we will first have a presentation about different funding possibilities, and then we will have the perspective from one transport buyer. So first I would like to welcome Elin Ullestad Stockland, she's a senior advisor at Enova, and she will present about funding possibilities in the Norwegian perspective, I think. So yes. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Elin Ullestad Stockland. I work at Maritime Transportation in Nova. I have worked in the maritime industry for about 15 years now, and it's truly my passion and be able to work through the transformation of maritime sector to low emission is very rewarding. That's why I work at Enova. We have an exciting future for us. By 2030, Norway must cut emission by 50%. So far, we have managed around 45%. By 2050, we have to cut the emissions by 90 to 95% compared to the 1990 levels. That's a lot. The task is very challenging, and it's hard now to imagine a world in only 30 years with low emission. That means the vessels we build today should be zero-emission vessels to can operate in the 2050. And Enova's role here is to contribute the climate commitments and the transformation to a low-emission society. We want to support technology development and market introduction until such development can continue on commercial terms without any support. So that's why I'm going to talk about the path to zero emission through our existing and new programs. But before I go more into detail about the programs, I want to take you back to 2015, Ampere. It was quite fun when Nordled mentioned this ferry. But when we go 9 years back, there were no zero emission or electrical ferries in Norway. It seemed like science fiction to look forward to, like in 8-9 years. There were, he said, 100 electrical ferries, and all tenders in Norway on ferries are now on emission-free tenders. It's been a huge revolution, and Enova has played an important role to get that market up speeding by providing support to the infrastructure that can take us to zero emission on the ferries. So we had programs that supported the infrastructure on the land side charging so that the vessels can be operated. And by doing that, we got to build up a value chain for battery, which was established. And we saw a bigger market for battery producers, and yeah, the whole value chain has come. Then I will talk just a bit about Enova. We are a state enterprise in Trondheim, which is like middle of Norway. We're owned by the Ministry of Climate and Environment, and we are approximately about 100 employees. We have a 4-year agreement with the Ministry of Climate and Environment. We are a financial support scheme that contributes to Norway's climate commitments and the transformation through a low-emission society. We work across all the sectors. We have like maritime transportation, land transportation, industry, offshore wind, etc., etc. So we work in all of the sectors. And this is called the Enova graph. It shows us our license to operate, so just bear with me when I try to explain it. This is the area where Enova is our playground, as we call it. At the early here you have research, where you have more Forskningsrådet, the research industry, Innovation Norge, and other sorts of R&D kind of projects will be. Here you have law, regulations, and taxes. We pull out of the market when we see there will be any new laws, regulations, or taxes. That's like our ultimate. So if you look at, if I use the example of Ampere, maybe it's easier to explain. Ampere had technology that was known, but not known in the maritime industry. So there was late phase technology. We started supporting it, and then you get the curve where it's more mature, more of the market side. And then we started supporting hybrid vessels for fishing vessels, all sorts of hybrid vessels, which takes the battery market way up. And when it started going on its own, like when you learn your kid to ride a bicycle, when you can let go, it finally cycles along, then we pull out. Then the market should take over, and there will be other regulations or law, or the prices have come down so much that it will survive on its own. In 2020, we had 28 schemes or programs. We supported 6,300 projects with a total amount of 475 million euros. The maritime transport, we had 8 schemes. We supported 180 project vessels with a total amount of 150 million euros. That's a big amount of money. So our mission is a mission-free maritime transport. And we have 3 sub-goals. We have introduction of alternative energy carriers, as mentioned here today. It can be battery, it can be ammonia, it can be hydrogen, etc. We have also development and introduction of a technology for energy efficiency. That could, for example, be wind sails, hydrofoil, so, etc., etc. We have plenty of those, and smart operations. We think it's important to look at all those 3 together. If you have a vessel that is supposed to be on hydrogen or ammonia or something, it will take more place. It will cost a lot more money than regular diesel, which means you have to take down the energy efficiency. So that's why we also mean it's important to look at the energy efficiency. And of course, smart operation. How can we do this smarter? Since 2015, we have supported 1,000 projects, vessels, in total of 700 million euros. A lot of money. And that actually triggers about 20, I have to say it correctly, 20 billion Norwegian kroners in this industry. So, and that means we have the last years used 30% of Enova's total budget on maritime transportation, which is industry that only has 7.5% of the greenhouse gases, which means we use a lot of our money on this industry because we think it's very important. It had big possibilities, not just in Norway, but out there. Large ripple effects beyond our borders. Norway is in the front seat of the maritime sector. We think it's important. We think that the maritime industry is very important for our 2050 goals. So that's why we use 30% of our budget on this industry, which only has 7.5% of the emissions. I put in our, this is back to the Enova graph where our playground area is. And this is per now the schemes or the programs we have. We just launched, I'm going to talk a bit more about them, but we just launched battery in zero emission vessels. We have a program called ammonia vessels and hydrogen vessels. We have groundbreaking maritime technology. As you can see, those three are on the late phase technology phase. And we have charging for zero emission vessels and battery in zero emission vessels, which takes me more into the market, more mature markets, introduction, more volume programs. And then hydrogen and ammonia. Why is this important? We think this will be important for the transmission to emission-free maritime sector. We have last few years supported 23 vessels with hydrogen and ammonia, 5 hydrogen hubs and 2 bunkering infrastructures for ammonia. And they're all across of Norway. But we have seen that just a few of these vessels has taken investment decisions. With all the uncertainties in the world, higher prices, interest rates, existing networks barrier, so on and so on, only a few of them have taken investment. We want to see the good projects come to sea, so we can test out this technology that will take us to zero emission. But we have to say, since there's been a few years now, and it hasn't been staying still. A lot has happened unless we don't have, or since we don't have any vessels yet on, like Hydra we have though. But there's been a lot with the hull design, development of the engines. Also, energy efficient solutions have come to place. And there's also been a major development of the value chain, both through project that received support from Enova, but project that hasn't, regarding to offer hydrogen and ammonia as fuel to the market. So what we have done now is that we have come with the new programs, which is, the goal is to establish the first value chain for hydrogen and ammonia for fuel in maritime sector in Norway. We will try to solve like the chicken and egg at the same time, as we see that that's the big problem here. Hydrogen in vessels and ammonia vessels. We had our first applications. The first application deadline was just before Easter. And this program is to reduce the network barriers, cost barriers, and try to get future development of the technology. What's important with this program is that since we have new ESA regulations, we can now support up to 80% of the additional costs for these vessels. Before it was only 40%, now we can go up to 80%. But to go up to 80%, it has to be something that is called competitive bidding, which is quite different from what we have seen before. Competitive bidding, you are the most cost-efficient vessel will rank highest. So it's a bit different for us, but still it makes us support the vessels up to 80% because we see we need to do that. 40% hasn't been enough. Now we're raising it with 80%. An additional cost, that is, if you compare a brown vessel, new build, built in, for example, Swedish yard, compared to a green hydrogen vessel built in a Swedish yard. So the difference between a new vessel, brown, and a new one, green, that additional cost we can go into up to 80% of that. And we have the first applications now. And it was actually 45 applications vessel that applied on these new programs with up to total amount 4.5 billions. So this will be quite exciting to see what will bring. But it's very good to see that the programs are taking, people are happy with it. I didn't take a slide, but I just wanted to tell you about, we're also working with hydrogen infrastructure and ammonia infrastructures. It's 2 programs that will be released to us during this year. That will produce hydrogen to the maritime sector in Norway, which will also be competitive bidding with high percentage of investment support and ammonia infrastructure. So, yeah. Maritime electrification. Last year, we supported 1 billion NOK for electrification. We're now raising the ambition from hybrid to zero emissions. Here you can see a graph over the maritime battery electrification. As you can see here, the blue one is total amount of battery vessels. And this one is Enova supported vessels. As you can see, Enova has played an important part of this success story, as we call it. And this is hybrid vessels. And now we're raising it and taking it to zero emission vessel. Because, as I said, we want to build vessels now that could run in 2050 to be zero emission. To apply here, you have to be a Norwegian business owner or owner of the ship. It's maximum 100 million NOK. You have to make investment decisions within 12 months. It can be a new build or retrofit. 50% of the energy must come from charging. The rest 50 can be hydrogen, ammonia, methanol. It has to be NIS registered. And we also have that you can apply for charging. Separate application with dedicated infrastructure up to 3 charging points. As we see on the electrical side, of course the vessels has to charge. So a lot of the projects has to have their dedicated charging points. So that's why we implemented that in the same program. This will also be competitive bidding. First application deadline planned for May. And also ranking by cost efficiency for this one as well. We have the program called Groundbreaking Maritime Technology, banebrytende maritim teknologi. Right now, this program is being adapted to the new EU regulations, new state aid regulations that are coming. So we are doing some small changes, but it will be ready before the next deadline. This is a program to support the latest and most innovative maritime technology that will become more easily accessible to players in the market. This is project that are one of the first in the world, Europe. We're talking groundbreaking. We have supported the first CO2 pilot project here. So this is the program for the vessels that are really trying out the new things. It could be the whole vessel, or it can be components. It can be energy efficiency components on board, but it's technology that will take us to 2050. That can apply on this program. So to wrap it up, what are we looking at? We're of course looking at the good projects. We are always looking for the level of innovation and potential of cost reduction. We're looking at projects that can have hva skal jeg si? You can herregud, ringvirkninger, står det stilt? Ja, spin-off effects. And a financial, technology, and professional ability to implement the projects. And project that society serve to ensure that we reach climate targets faster. And that's why Enova exists. We want to make sure we can do this faster and try to roll out this technology faster. So, yeah. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elin. And we will continue. If you have questions from Elin, she's still around afterwards, I think, so you can pose questions to her. Very interesting, especially from a Swedish perspective, to see what we have in Norway. And then we will move on to our next Elin Svedlund from the Swedish forest industry, skogsindustrierna, a very important industry from a Swedish perspective, but also you are responsible for the transport.
Yes,
this
I
company.
am.
So thank you.
Are you still awake? I hope so. Am I the last person?
Yes.
Yes.
Last speaker.
So bear with me then. So yes, I'm Elin is my name. Nice to be here. I'm working in the business organization for the forest industry, where I'm managing transportation. So I have a group of logistic managers in the forest industries that I work with. Okay. Oh, I clicked myself. Okay. So that's me. Just some key notes, so you know where we are. We are, oh, that was small. 115,000 people work in the forest industry in Sweden. We have 220 members in the business organization. Sweden is the fourth largest exporter of forest products in the world. We exported products to a value of 186 billion Swedish crowns last year, or 2022, but still. And we export 82% of the products that we produce in Sweden. And we invested almost 16 billion crowns in our industries last 2022. We are part of the green industry. The Swedish forest industry is that. You rarely hear that, but we are. 70%, oh. Okay, there should be a picture between there. Okay, so you imagine a picture now with, or is it afterwards? Oh, there it is. So, no, sorry, you can see this one first. Okay. Okay, you can wait with the forest picture. So Europe is our largest business area. Germany we basically send paper to, and Great Britain we sell wood products to. Oh yeah, this one I wanted to show you. 65% of our export is by sea. That's why I'm standing on this stage today. This one is a fun fact. We sell 12% of our products to Asia. The amount of tons that the Swedish forest industry exports to Asia equals the same amount of tons that entire Sweden imports from Asia. So this is the forest picture I wanted to show you. 70% of Sweden is forest. These are the places where we harvested forest last year. So 280,000 places in Sweden we harvest forest every year. And we transport it to our industries and to heating plants. Lots of logistics. And this is where we use, of course, train and trucks. And we have a target saying that our transports inland should be fossil-free 2040. And we use the whole tree, of course. This is the part where we make the money. So that's why we have the sawmills. We used to say we grow houses. Have you heard that? That's what we do. We grow houses. Have you been to a sawmill, any one of you? Some of you? The sawmills in Sweden are extremely high-tech. In Norway and Finland, or Finland as well. Norway you have some, right? But the Finnish one as well. Each log is measured so that we can get out as much wood products as possible from the log. locked. But you can see there's still some leftovers, right? That we can't get out. And we use that to make pulp and to make paper. So the parts in between that is too thin to saw, but we can still make something from it, and we make paper. But there are parts, the treetops, branches, lignin from the industry, and these parts that we cannot make paper. Today we call this the energy segment. But the question is for how long this will be an energy segment. And I know lots of you are interested in this energy segment. But there are more than you that are interested in it. The chemical industry today is based on fossil raw material. They are very interested in using these products to make bio-based chemicals. Laminate is uses the IKEA uses fossil wax today to glue the laminates together. They are now using bio-based. They're looking into it. Northvolt is looking into using the bio-based material in their batteries. This is Stora Enso, it says there. All plastic can be produced with bio-based material. The leather industry is looking into using bio-based to replace animal look-alike. Even the car industry. And so the question is, how long shall we burn up this energy segment, or should we reuse it? And the companies in the Swedish forest industry, they have different strategies here. Södra, SCA, they are producing pulp. No paper, no paperboard, they're using pulp. They are now going into the energy segment. The other companies like Metsä or Stora Enso, they're more going into the chemical segment. It's up to the market to say where should we use the fiber. The unique selling point with the Swedish fiber is that our trees grow very slowly. So we have a strong and long fiber. And that's what we should work with here. Still, we need to decarbonize the shipping industry as well, because we are, as you said, shipping 65% of our goods by ship. I don't think I need to explain the picture. You know what we're looking at, of course. By 2040, there will be no emission allowances on the market if everything goes well. I think the ETS is a good tool. I think it allows us to step by step change the emission source that has the highest efficiency to the lowest cost. Let's use it together. I also think this picture shows it's good for us in the forest industry to stop and think and take a pause. What will this mean for us? Can we keep exporting 65% of our goods to ships if this is not managed? It's a risk for us if it's not managed. And also the cost for the allowances is passed on to us. So what we need to do, the forest industries, we need to understand, we need to look at our entire value chain and understand where do we have emission. This is not total cost of emission, it's something else, but I think it's better called total. You probably know what it means, TC. I call it total cost of emission. It's something else. We need to understand which parts are part of the ETS, and that's what you spoke before me here. This is the value chain we need to look at. We can't just look at one ship. We need to see the entire value chain when we do this. We need to work with scenarios. How will the prices of the ETS change? And we need to add those scenarios into our different value chains. And we need to look at different routes. We need to look at different suppliers. And we need to add all this up when we start talking to our suppliers today. We need to use this in our negotiations with our suppliers. when it comes to transportation. You can call it negotiation or call it collaboration, but still, we don't know this good enough today. We need to build these scenarios. And today is quite interesting times. We know that the prices of transport has just rocketed the last month due to Suez, due to ETS, and we know that transport buyers in Sweden, in Europe, we are concerned. And we also feel that we don't understand. It's very clear to us. We don't understand why the prices go up. There are prices that are more than doubling and even more than that. And so I think this is becoming very clear to us right now. When I talk to transport buyers in Sweden and in Europe, we want to see more transparency, of course, so we can understand this. We also think that it's very important that we keep a healthy competition now, because I think we are, I don't know how many of you, but I understand that we are, as of today, I mean, the last weeks, we are actually learning more as a buyer, and I know the businesses are, the prices will adjust. I think in just a month or two, we're learning how to buy ETS. We're learning what the impact will be, but there's a long way to go. So keeping this healthy competition is very important. Transparency and healthy competition. And of course, a true decarbonization. Not only a green wash, it needs to be a true decarbonization. So that's actually my last. Transparency, competition, and decarbonization. That's what we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elin, for that nice presentation and reflections on how we should continue this and that we are different partners or parts in this. It's time to sort of wrap up and have some final comments or questions. So I would like to say, Kalle and Öyvind and Eiril and Linda, that you could come up on the stage, and we will try to give a few reflections, and then we might have a few final questions if we have time for that in the end. So I was thinking, Kalle, maybe you would like to say something about what you have learned today and something that we missed to say, maybe.
Yes, I think it's been a very interesting day, perhaps even more interesting than I thought, so I'm very happy. But first, I would like to say that a lot of this is about energy, fuels, and happy to say we are in Gothenburg, and we also have some sister projects that we have been looking at energy, and in one project, Linda will maybe mention more about that, but in the Blue Supply Chain project, we looked at how much energy has been used for the shipping sector, and we actually calculated not what's been bunkered in Sweden, because that we know is like between 20 and 30 terawatt hours per year, but instead we looked at how much energy is it that the ships are using domestically and also traveling to and from international ports, and that is more or less 14 terawatt hours. So we are bunkering a lot more than the ships are using, and that's because we have good terms for purchasing fuels here in Sweden, and I think some 80% of all fuels bunkered in Sweden is bunkered here in Gothenburg. Isn't that correct, Therese? Yeah. So we are actually in a place where we are very much handling a lot of fuels, and so there is a lot of interest about this in there. And I don't know, Linda, if you want to say something more about
other projects.
Well, about the blue supply chains, maybe we should mention that we have the coordinator all the way from Port of Hamburg here today with us, Stefan and Gunnar. In this project, we are developing a strategy for bunkering and charging in Swedish port. And the report is ready before summer, so we can share that with you. And we have different projects as well, a lot of projects, and all of us have many projects ongoing. So it's a really big effort to try to find synergies between the project and learn and build the next project based on previous knowledge. So that's really something we are trying to do a lot. We have many projects at IVL. You mentioned Blue Supply Chain, and you mentioned Hammond project together with, among other partners, Port of Gothenburg earlier today. But just a few words, a little bit of a reflection from my side. I haven't really been part of this project, but we work together with many projects at IVL related to energy for the shipping sectors. Well, it's been a very good day. Very interesting presentations. And well, look around in this room. It's really amazing that we have so much knowledge and experience in this room. And it's very amazing that we all seem to be very willing to share this knowledge. And I think that is really a key issue here, that we are sharing and that we are cooperating. But because we're so many actors that need to take their part in this transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy for the shipping sector. So that's really, really one important issue. It's a team effort. It's us against climate change, so we shouldn't compete. Well, beside cooperation, I think also we need to take new roles in this transition and ask ourselves if we can work in a different way that we used to. And I've been thinking about that today. As a researcher, if I work differently today than I used to do some years ago, and I would say we do. We are spending more time reaching out to decision makers, authorities, and politicians than we used to do, because it's so important to have policies and regulations and funding programs for pilot projects and so on. Therefore, we need to share our knowledge and stress why it's important to have this support, because we need to share costs and risks in these transitions. And one other thing we are spending more time focusing on now than we used to do is dissemination, because it's so important to reach out with these results to the industry. I mean, we used to work with the industry for a long time, in close cooperation, but we need to, as I said before, build a new project based on previous knowledge and research in a greater extent. So therefore, it's so good to see so many people here today. We're really trying to work with all of you and also to spread our results.
Thank you very much, Linda. And then before sort of summing up, I would also like to pass on the mic to our coordinators of the Nordic Roadmap project with some reflections. Eyvind and Eiril, if you would like to say a few words also about what you learned today and how we should continue. And then close to the mic.
Yes. I would like to start with thanking the organizers for today. So IVL, Chalmers, Lighthouse, thank you very much. And special thanks to Julia and Kalle for taking us through the very busy agenda in sticking to the time. I'm impressed. And even to Åsa, who is helping us from behind the scenes despite being sick today. So thank you very much. Then I would like to thank all of you for being here and providing your input, your questions. It's been very good discussions, I think. Very good presentations. I think I would like to stress again that the Nordic Roadmap project is a collaborative effort. We have all the contributing partners of the Nordic Roadmap project also here today. So if you all haven't met them, maybe you would also like to say who you are. We have Dennis from MAN, we have Christina from Lighthouse, we have Maren from Menon over here, Frank also from Lighthouse, and we have several DNV colleagues, Inger Anne, Dorte, yeah. So this is, we have a big team that's behind the organization here. And then if you can remember back to the earliest presentations of today, we took you through the Nordic Roadmap document. this is kind of the end station of the project, like Eivind said, and we rely on your input to make that as good as possible. So we're still looking for your inputs to that. And then we went through the Nordic Roadmap pilot studies. And here also we very much would like you to participate and with your expertise in those pilot studies. So if you want to do so, please reach out to the pilot facilitators. And then I need to say that to participate in the pilot studies and to provide your input to the roadmap, you need to be a partner of the Nordic Roadmap project. So we very much would like to welcome more partners into the program. It is free of charge and no cost. All that we need is a letter of support that says that you would like to support the project. So if you have any questions about that, you can also talk to me during the mingling afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Eiril. To this, say what we have presented before lunch was about our project, giving you an insight, and as the end station is the roadmap. But I think also, as Eiril was into looking into Björn Garberg's experience from Sweden, how can we learn and share knowledge? I think what Linda was into this new way of working. At least what I have been in this area since the 90s. In these environmental topics. In the 90s we were very few, how to say. So this has been, seeing this, say, how the good questions coming up today and how many that attend, I think that's really a positive sign. And then I think there was some, say, also this from after lunch, there was some takeaways, learning from Vasa Line, the Friday, the Green Friday, was it that? So there was some reflections there. There was also a lot regarding closing the cost gap. Sorry. Closing the cost gap, I think that's something several was looking into and has some reflection on. And I think also the nice work or presentation on the green, how can we make green business cases are really something that we should spend time on. And also the willingness to pay, that is of course a challenge. And there was good questions about what is zero emission, what is well to wake, and how to achieve this, and there are some life cycle standards now developed, so there are something to build on. And I think also this residual from Maersk McKinsey Center is coming to this residual cost, how to find this, and that's linked to Enova. I think it's a nice presentation of how can we close the cost gap. And I think there's a lot of how we can do that is important. And we got the experience from Hydra. What are, say, important? We need a cluster, we need cooperation, we need to be early in contact with flag and class. There was some learnings there. I think very important. And of course, this last presenter, this I also believe is very important also to today's topic, the green corridors, is transparency. I think this is really important and also shown with some examples in previous presenters. So I think that's, say, very, very important. My end comment is that we have talked a lot about fuel transition, but also pitched a little bit by Enova, we need also to look into other technologies that could save energy, smarter operations. So we need to have this, and this we reflect in our roadmap. We also need to work on energy efficiency measures to be smarter, not only for the ship, but also ship in a system. So I think that was very important takeaways. So that was my final comment. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I can just say the final word, I think, before we move on. And there is going to be coffee and I think cake or something like that outside before you leave, so you can still stay and mingle. I would also like to say, as Eirik said, thank you very much for the presenters and for everybody participating and for everybody helping out with putting the program together. I think it was a joint effort and it went out very well. Very nice presentations and very good questions and commitments. So very thank you to all of you. And yeah, there will be more events as we showed within the project, but also within other projects. So we hope to see you soon again. And then reach out for the coffee. And don't forget to pose the questions to each other that you didn't have the opportunity to do here today. So thank you.